I would, first of all, do you have a preference between the two? F1 must be so much more expensive because so much is changing so fast.
Yeah, I think Formula One is about 10 times more expensive than IndyCar, if not 20 times. But they also travel the world. It's just a different series. I think they both have the pro and the cons. You ask me which one I prefer. It's like when you have a boy and a girl, which one you prefer? They're two different, right? I was lucky to do 10 years in Formula One. I've been lucky now to do another 4 or 5 years in IndyCar. Great fun. Kind of different. Only racing North America makes it easy on the travel schedule. But also a lot of fun. And the Indy 500 is of course a monument of racing.
So you mentioned the technology in an F1 car. So can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, how much can you control as a driver? Are there things that are being controlled outside the car? What's sort of the most advanced technology that you consider, critical for the car and how it performs?
So Formula One banned a few years ago. So it's a one-way communication system. So the teams can read everything that's happening on the car, but they're not allowed to send anything to the car. That changed maybe 20 years ago. Also, so before the race, you have to decide all your parameters. There's a lot you can change to the differential. You can play with your differential. You can play with your brake balance. You can play with your brake migration. You can play with your engine braking. I think those are the main one.
So the instrumentation goes one way, but they can talk to you, right? They can say, "Hey, we're seeing this." So how much? I mean, you've got a whole bunch of buttons on the steering wheel, right? It's not just doing this, right? You can manipulate a few settings in the car, can you not? From the cockpit?
Yeah, you can. The way it works is all of those are set up before qualifying, and the time that the Formula One car leaves the garage and goes into the pit lane in qualifying, you're on the Parc Fermé. So you cannot change any settings, which is very tricky when it's raining one day and drier than the next day, or the opposite way around. So you have in qualifying, you have to prepare for everything you want to have in the race. That's different in IndyCar,
But in the middle of the race, you can't touch anything on your steering wheel, like a pressure or something like that?
Everything that map-wise was in the car prior to qualifying, you can. So you probably have 6 engine braking, 6 brake migration. You have 36 diff position, 6 on entry, 6 on mid, and 6 on exit. That's 18. Sorry for my math. And engine braking, you have 6 bits and pieces that you can play with.
With respect to the safety of the cars, then that's probably part of the technology advancements that the cars have made over the last 20 years. Can you talk a little bit about how the safety of the cars have evolved over time as well?
Yeah, I mean, they've changed dramatically, since early 2000, I want to say, before in Formula One, 1994, Aerton Senna was the last accident. It was a death until Jules Bianchi in 2014. So that was 20 years. And then after Jules Bianchi, we brought up the Halo in Formula One, which actually saved my life in my accident in Bahrain. In the meantime, the chassis have become stronger. Since my accident, they changed the design of the fuel tank and the fuel tank cap that actually broke, and that's why I got on fire. So every time they always improve technology. Carbon, as the mastering of the carbon, making it lighter, but also more resilient, has been fantastic. So I think all those technology have been insanely good, and they keep improving year after year. Helmets, race suits, gloves. Name it.
And didn't they enclose the cockpit too in F1?
So that's named the Halo.
Halo, okay.
Yeah, Halo, and then IndyCar we have an Aeroscreen, so it's a screen in front of the driver. As pro and cons, anything flying on an oval would be good to have the Aeroscreen, but also you have very little airflow in the car, so it gets really hot.
So we'll ask you about Bahrain in a little bit, because that was a really amazing event for you, I know. But before we do that, I kind of want to ask you about what is the sort of culture of a successful racing team, whether it's F1 or IndyCar. Maybe there's differences, but how does that culture play into success?
I think it all comes from whoever is leading the team. It's always very difficult to know why someone is a good leader or not. You can tell when they're acting if they are one or not, but it's very difficult to pinpoint on what is it. So I always say that the tree always comes from the roots, and those are the roots. So it's pushing your people to do the best they can, making them feel like they can surpass themselves. We all make mistakes. That's called life, and it's learning from those mistakes and not destroying those people at the time. So I've seen really, really good leaders. I've seen terrible ones. But again, if when I meet someone within 5 minutes, if you ask me if he's one or not, it's going to be difficult. But you can, after a little bit, you can tell. I had the chance one day to have dinner with Arsene Wenger. That if you follow football or soccer in Europe, he's been a Liverpool coach for many, many years. And 45 minutes dinner, I don't know. It was just so impressive to know and see how that person could, within 45 minutes, understand you completely and almost get the best out of you.
You mentioned a little bit about communications between the team and the car. So how do you guys manage that? Because I would imagine it can be distracting, and you probably have to sort out what's really important to communicate. And so what are those kind of things you're trying to talk about during the actual race when your concentration has to be on the road?
Yeah, I mean, the radio communication doesn't always work that great. The quality is very often poor. So you only try to communicate important things. Advices, maybe, if you're using your rear tires too much, they can tell you front tires. If they think there's a setting that's going to help you, a strategy, they ask you how the tires are fitting. So again, they have all the sensors in the world, but you're the one telling them, hey, I can do another 10 laps on those tires, or they're about to die next lap. So please bring me in. So those are the things you talk about, and they always try to talk to you in straight lines. There's nothing more annoying that you get to a braking zone and suddenly someone is calling you like, God damn it, not now.
Shut up.
Yeah, it's like you're about to land on the aircraft carrier, and then Tower is telling you, hey, you're clear to land. I know I'm about to land.
That's right. And we've talked about this on previous versions of this podcast, where it's very much a right brain activity, where your language is not something you want to be dealing with when you're processing in parallel, not in series. So funny that you say that. But I suppose that there's a lot of strategy in terms of when you go into the pit. It has to do obviously with fuel, but tires as well. And so it's just when the right time is, or when there's a yellow flag or something. I mean, that's quite a decision. Is that a mutual decision? Or are they telling you, come on in?
That's one of the big differences between Formula One and IndyCar. Formula One, pretty much all the strategy are decided before the race. Since 2011, 10, 11, we don't refuel the cars. So you start with what you start, you have to go to the end of the race. So it's never going to be a fuel thing. It's always going to be a tire thing. And they're running like crazy amount of simulation behind the scene to know when is the best time to pit. And if there's a yellow, yes, you take it because the pit don't close. In IndyCar, you have an 18-gallon fuel tank. The pit close when it's a yellow. So the tires are actually less important than your fuel. You really want to try to go to the end of your fuel, and the last stop is when can I get home, right? So is it 28 laps to the end? Is it 30 laps to the end? Can I save a bit more fuel than my friends and pit on lap 31 to go? There's a yellow coming on lap 30, you're king of the world. If you stayed out, you're dead last.
That's amazing. But I was going to ask about the pit stops themselves, because I had, Romain, the opportunity to sit right above the pit for the aero racing team during one of the Indy 500s. And that was just an eye-watering experience to see how those cars come in, screech to a halt, and I mean, they're gone in no time. So can you talk to us about the consideration? We already talked about going into the pit, but what about the keys to a successful stop? Obviously, it has a lot to do with the crew.
Yeah, crew is very important. The fueler is the one that's going to take the most time. So if the fueler can be plugged in less than 0.4 of a second, that's really, really good. And then your fuel takes between 6.8 to 7.2 seconds to fuel, right? So your tires have to be done in that time. So then it's all about going fast, but doing it slowly, so you don't lose a nut, so you don't do the wheel wrong, then you don't drop the car when the wheels are not tight. It's about precision and remembering sometimes that slow is faster. But when you're leading the Indy 500, Just try to tell that to yourself.